Member for North West Central.
Firstly, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'd like to congratulate you on becoming Deputy Speaker of this House, and also congratulate you on, I think, elevation coming from the other place to here. It just shows you how important it is, and that good people do realise that it's best to come over this side of Parliament than be on the other side. So welcome to that very elite club of being a upper house member and now being a lower house member. But members, new members, congratulations on your victory. Really relish the time that you've got here in Parliament, because it is a very unique place, and it's a place of opportunity and where you can make a difference, and don't lose sight on not being able to make a difference, because you can if you use your time in this place wisely. The election, great result for the National Party. The National Party, I think, have got their highest representation ever in the state parliament, with 7 lower house members and 5 upper house members. Great result. Great result because it's a very cohesive team. We had a great team that took us to the 2013 election, an election that delivered us the result that we worked hard to get. We worked hard because we represented solely and firstly our electorate, and that is regional WA. That is looking after our constituents who, for many years, some say 40, some say 60 years of neglect that's occurred in regional WA, the National Party has been able to reverse that in a very short space of time with a program called Royalties for Regions. And I'd like to firstly congratulate the leader of the National Party, the Honourable Brendan Grills, for firstly coming up with a wonderful program and leading the Nationals not only to balance of power in 2008, not only ensuring that he could secure my vote in 2009, but secure victory in 2013 and making the bold move to change from the Central Wheatbelt seat to the Pilbara. I think the Pilbara people have got one of the biggest advocates, not only for the people of the Pilbara, but for regional WA and for Western Australia being their representative. So I look forward to him becoming more sunburnt and drinking lots more of emu export, and really becoming a man about town in the Pilbara, as long as he doesn't wear a Kruger hat. So best of luck in your endeavours as a member for Pilbara. To my other colleagues, to the Deputy Leader, Terry Redman, who I think is going to make a fantastic deputy, and who knows, a future leader of the National Party when the time comes. I think that what he's been able to achieve in his past portfolios and electorate speaks volumes. To my other National Party colleagues for their support over what has been sometimes a difficult time since transferring, switching sides, defecting, whatever you want to call it. I notice how there's none of my former colleagues in the chamber, but that just shows you what they're all about. But changing sides from 2009 to join the National Party to make sure that I can best represent my community, and I believe I've done that. And I believe that the election result on March 9 proved that the decision I made to leave the Labor Party and join the National Party was backed by the electorate, backed by the community that I represent. Not just a get-over-the-line win, but a win that really shows that, one, the support for what I did for my community, support for the National Party, support for Royalties for Regions, and support for someone who listens to them and delivers on what the community have been asking for many years. Like I said, some say 40, some say 60 years of neglect by previous governments. So congratulations to the National Party, to my colleagues. Key supporters, you can't win an election without key supporters. And to Tom and Margaret Day, who was my opponent, Tom Day, in 2008, has got right behind me and been able to ensure that I've had the key support needed to win the seat. He and his wife Margaret have done a fantastic job. To Lex Fullerton, who also was one of my opponents. It's amazing how everyone lined up behind me after 2009, but he has always been an independent. But the day that I left the Labor Party is the day that he went right behind me and ensured that that I had his full support and the people who supported him. So to Lex Fullerton and his wife Julie, thank you very, very much. To Dudley Maslin, the former Shire President of Carnarvon, who I've got to know extremely well over probably the last 10 years, and who has played a pivotal role in where Carnarvon is today, and a role in making sure and teaching someone like myself to solely represent the community that you've been elected to represent. And I think he's instilled that in me, and we've gone through some difficult times through the floods, which I've spoken about many times in this House, that occurred back in 2010 in Carnarvon. I think that forges friendships when you have to go through these natural disasters for a lifetime. So to Dudley Maslin, to other people who helped out in the campaign, being my booth workers, to Shane Almore, who drove me around, because one of the challenges of being the member for North West Central is the size of the electorate. The electorate is the biggest in the state, has the least amount of people in the electorate compared to others, but is the largest by far, just under 800,000 square kilometres I think it's 17 towns in that space, but only having 9,700 voters or thereabouts. So quite challenging in your distances, and to have key support base right around the electorate is crucial. But as we know, and as new members will find out, you really need to have a good team in your office. And if you don't have good staff, then I suggest that you really consider what you're doing as a Member of Parliament, because they are key and pivotal to doing your day-to-day work and dealing with your constituents, especially when you've got a large electorate and that you're always travelling. People often say, "Where do you live, Vince?" And I know that my former colleagues over there always will tease people who may not live in the electorate. Can I say that probably 63%, I think maybe close to 70 now, don't live in the electorate in the Labor Party. But I can put my hand on the heart and say that when I'm not sitting here in Parliament, I am travelling around my electorate. Where do you live? I live out of a suitcase, I live out of a car, I live out of a plane, but we also reside in Carnarvon and Perth. So I challenge anyone to go around with me and see what the member of North West Central has to endure to represent their community. But like I said, going back to staff, I really want to sincerely thank Doriana Mangeli, who's been a loyal electorate officer for the past 3.5 years. Her work has just been amazing, and to go through periods, like I said, when you've got natural disasters such as floods, having to deal with the community in their issues after such a large disaster that has affected everyone's lives and is still having that effect today. We dealt with, and Doriana particularly dealt with a lot of the issues that plantation owners and the community face through damages to their house, crops, you name it. So I just can't speak highly enough of Doriana, and Nolene, who has come on the scene over the last 6 months, has done a tremendous job to put together the campaign. But the electorate is very diverse. Like I said, it's the largest electorate in the state. It covers the Pilbara, the towns of Onslow, Panamonica, Paraburdoo, Tom Price. It has the challenges of mining and what that brings. We've seen what happens in Karratha, or has happened in Karratha, and what has happened in Port Hedland. Can I just say that Onslow is experiencing such a change in environment, and the challenges that the local community face there, and which are very difficult, because you're not starting with a lot of the infrastructure that already existed in places like Karratha and Port Hedland. Huge challenges which you'll hear me in this place over the next 4 years highlight what the needs are and what we need to do as government to try and ease the pain of locals, because those locals are putting up with billions and billions of dollars of investment, which are going to ensure that your communities, your electorates, get the benefits of that investment, which has a huge effect on a small town like Onslow. The Gascoyne has got its separate challenges from Exmouth down to Shark Bay. Exmouth's got its growing pains because towns that are close to Onslow will benefit and feel the pain from what's happening in the resource sector. But as oil and gas keeps on escalating, Exmouth has its challenges trying to weigh up the challenges between the resource sector and tourism. As we all know that Exmouth is a sought-after tourism destination worldwide, so it's got its challenges to get that balance right without affecting the environment. So tough challenges ahead. Coral Bay, it's been one of those issues that's been talked about forever and a day. It also became an election issue, I think back in 2005, where you had the Saved in Ingaloo campaign. Can I just say that Coral Bay needs to be normalised. Coral Bay needs to be turned into a proper town, so the people who actually live there, not transient population, people actually live in Coral Bay, can access having a teacher, having a school, having good health facilities. We need to do that by normalising and providing the ability for people to be able to purchase their own house. You currently can't get that in Coral Bay, and the only way that you're going to protect the environment, because that's what people and everyone's concerned about, but that's what the campaign was back in 2005, protect the environment, we need to make sure that there is a proper plan that really reflects what's happening. And that is, there's people living in Coral Bay. It is a town, let's make it a town. And government needs to move quickly to ensure that the Bayangu people who have assisted this state through amenities for Coral Bay provide the ability for them to have freehold to provide more, housing for those people who live in Coral Bay. Critical, very important to the state tourism, but very important to people who live in Coral Bay, because there will be 250, 300 people that live in Coral Bay. You go to some remote communities and they'll have a full-blown school and a teacher for each of the 6 kids. In Coral Bay, there's no teacher. There's dozens of kids who will have to travel or do travel to Exmouth, as little as 5, to go to school. I think it's crazy this day and age that we can provide schools for remote communities, but we've got a community that's considered not a community, a transient population. We need to make sure that it's normalised. There's challenges right throughout the electorate. Like I said, a very large, diverse electorate. The Murchison that goes from Yalgoo, Mount Magnet, Kew, Meekatharra, Wiluna and Sandstone. It's a fair, it's a very vastly different part of the world when you take the Gascoyne and Pilbara. You've got the economic powerhouse being the Pilbara. You've got the Gascoyne has got tourism and the impact of the resource sector slowly taking shape there. But the Murchison, which really does rely on tourism, mining comes and goes, really does rely on making sure that projects like Okajee really do need to take off, because it's going to provide that boom to those smaller towns. They need an increase in population, increase in jobs, and I believe Okajee will definitely give them that ability. But the challenges that exist right throughout the northwest when it comes to having had industry and then working out what's going to be sustainable for these towns. And all these towns, and particularly the Murchison, have been able to use their royalties for regions projects to really provide some of those amenities that these towns have never had. That's such as water parks, Main Street upgrades, providing housing for council staff so they can actually get staff and house them to take on jobs which they haven't been able to do. They've been able to achieve this through their country local government fund, which has been pivotal in smaller towns to ensure that they can deliver some of what the community wants, but also be able to grow their town, provide the service that community expects their local government to provide, but also look at ways that they can improve tourism. And towns like Kew, Yalgoo, Sandstone have been able to upgrade their caravan parks. Simple upgrading a caravan park has meant that instead of having 10 people come there a day during their season, tourism season, they now can get 60 or 70 people. Now, having 60 or 70 people stay 1 or 2 nights makes a hell of a difference to that town's economy. So they've been able to use their royalties for regions money as really driving their economy in their small town. Towns like Mount Magnet, who has been able to build a museum, which also adds another string to that region's bow by having a museum making sure that the history of Mount Magnet and the region is showcased. So when people do stay in the caravan park, they've got somewhere to go and have a look at. These towns have made small investments, and compared to other towns in my electorate, small investments, but can I just say have made a tremendous economic difference and a difference in people's lives, because for the first time these towns have had investment. They've had to rely on the gold rush or something along those lines to make sure that their town gets a leg up and grows. Madam Deputy Speaker, can I please have an extension?
Extension granted.
Thank you. So these towns, like I said, they've got their challenges, but one thing that I want to see myself be able to really make sure that I can represent my community and the challenges that we face as a state, as members, is, and it's been talked about today, and it's great to see the member for Southern River and the Premier talk about issues facing our Aboriginal people in Western Australia. We can talk about royalties to regions, we can talk about the Pilbara, we can talk about all the wonderful things that we've been able to achieve as a political party, as a government. But one thing that we've failed, and successive governments have failed, and I think we will continue to fail unless we make some radical changes, and that is trying to ensure that we have a game plan for communities in the north of this state, and probably generally all over Western Australia, that we have a game plan so we can try and tackle some of the disadvantage that Aboriginal people have in my electorate, but I know in the electorate, Madam Deputy Speaker, that you represent, the member for Pilbara and the member for Kimberley. I think for too long we've ticked a box and not been able to truly deliver or assist Aboriginal people. And now, how do we do that? Well, if I knew the answer, we wouldn't have, I wouldn't have to stand up here and say my thoughts, or I wouldn't have to go around my electorate and see how there are third world communities who have got third world diseases right in our backyard. When you've got a kid who's 2 years of age in Mount Magnet who's got rickets and whose families take food out of her mouth, I think we've got a major problem in this state, and we need to try and tackle that. How do we do that? Well, firstly, I think anyone listening to 720 this morning, it was discussed about talking about crime and jails and what's the best measure, prevention, or do we build jails? We really do need to look at ways in which we can build communities, build people's self-esteem, build Aboriginal people, give them the ability to have a life that is not living in third world houses or living with third world disease. We have all these programs that are out there that has been funded by governments, both state and federal. We have programs that work and we have programs that don't work. So I would like to see that the state government sets up an audit of actually what's happening in my electorate in North West, but regional WA, where we can audit the programs that are working and the ones that aren't, to make those tough decisions to enhance the programs that do work for people that are in Aboriginal communities or towns that have large Aboriginal populations. It's a tough thing to do, audit and find out what's working, but the only way you can start to make inroads is to know what you're dealing with, to know what is out there, to know what's working and what's not. Once you do work out that very simple fact, what are the outcomes being delivered by these programs that a lot of money is being put into, then you can work out your game plan. You can work out where do you go from there to develop a policy that's going to be around for 20 years. Not a policy that these community groups or these programs that are working have to fight year in, year out to get funding. So instead of delivering a program that's going to help kids or help young adults or help the elderly, they're fighting for most of their, or sitting down doing the paperwork to work out how they're going to get the funding to continue a program that they can't put their 100% of time into because they're looking at ways in which they can get the next round of money. So there needs to be a strategic plan that's going to be around for a good generation, 20 years, to ensure that we can make a difference and allow those who want to make a difference, allow them the time to get the outcomes needed, not because some bureaucrat tells them that you've got funding for a year and that's it, because you haven't got the outcomes that they've set out, rather than allowing that program to take its time to get the outcomes that they know that they can achieve. It's challenging. There's a lot of focus on infrastructure and not enough focus on recurrent funding to help non-for-profits to deliver these much needed programs around regional WA. And the debate today was about do you build prisons or do you have crime prevention? Well, I would have thought investment in crime prevention really ensures that you don't have to have facilities such as remand centres or prisons being built at costs of hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayers' money, when we can probably deal with some of these issues for a fraction of the price. But they're the challenges. The other challenge is that we do have, it's not just government changing the way it conducts its business, or it also needs a partnership with Aboriginal organisations to ensure that the native title that they have received actually filters down to the people. Because what you find in the Pilbara, a lot of the organisations who have received native title money only benefits a select few. And we need to make sure that we bring Aboriginal corporations to the table and partner up with them to make sure that we can see that money flow down to the people. Because there's no point signing a $1 billion or $500 million or $2 billion native title deal if there is no benefit and their people are still living in third world conditions with third world diseases in the community, and you've got all this so-called money sitting in the organisation. I think it needs to change. I think we need to see that filter down to the people and stop that money going on in accountants and lawyers' pockets, because often you find that that's where a lot of the money gets tied up. If there needs to be legislative change where we can see partnering up with government and native title recipients, then that's what we need to do. We need to find out ways in which we can change what's been happening in the past to really make a difference in the future, which I think will have a net benefit to the taxpayer at the end of the day, and which is important, but a really net benefit to Aboriginal people across this state, because I think we as representatives need to tackle some of those really difficult issues facing us as members, us as the state government, but more importantly, issues that are facing Aboriginal people today, because we've failed as governments in the past, and I think we can make a difference by making those changes and doing what's right for the community. So the electorate of North West, great place to be, great regions that I represent, but we've also got some serious challenges. That's why I'm standing up here today representing the North West seat, so I can do the best as I can as a local representative. Thank you.